Buddy, my name is Dr. Lou Jensen, and this is the weekly gathering of the INE Network. We've been an association of wannabe artists for years and years and years. And most of us have some artistic talent that we're chasing and trying to take it from a hobby on into a business. And we get together and talk about things that might help. When I do this show on Wednesday nights, I've tried to have something that would be motivating and inspiring to each of you to reach a little further, get a little more done, make it a little more enjoyable, a lot more satisfying. To me, satisfying is everything now. If you're not happy with how things are going, then who in the world is going to come along and change it? So pull up a chair, sit down, and visit for a little while. Let's see if we can't light a fire or two inside and go on. We'll do a little presentation slideshow, and then we'll visit about it afterwards. So let me fire up. Where is screen share? It is so interesting how this works. Push a few buttons and bam, you're all over the world. Pretty amazing what we're playing with. I don't not think of the youth of the world when we get to play with what we're doing here with our webinars and the Google Plus. I just can't help but think how that's changing how the world gets things done. It's one of the most amazing technological tools I've ever played with in my entire business career. And even my sons still can't figure it out. They're so busy with the machining and growing the business and everything. And we're getting ready to build a new building now, and it's just such a fun time to watch the kids really digging in to make things work. And yet this tool is something they still don't understand hardly at all. And I keep begging them to get a little smarter phone and to come and play with me a little bit more, but I just can't seem to make that make that stick anymore. Welcome to all of you tonight. We're going to talk about a really interesting subject because it's usually not one discussed a lot. And yet I think most of you who have an artistic slant, an artistic inclination, Deb mentioned in the green room that she's been working all day and has projects to do, and every one of us do this. We do a lot of it, each of us. And we all know what it's like to sit down and work with your hands and produce something artistic. In any given day, when I can get at that, that is my favorite thing. It has been now for almost 40 years. In 1977, when I started all of this, I just could not get over how much fun it was to play with a concept and an idea that was related to how to get into it and what to do. Rod Hoffman is paging me on my phone. Can somebody see if you can figure out how to send him a signal? And let's see if we can get him in. Can you guys do it, or do I have to do it? I'll bet I'm the only one. Let me try and invite you, Rod, right here. He should have had an invitation, but maybe not. No, not there, not there, not there. Come on, Lou, get it over here. Excuse me just a second. He's paging me, so let's give him an invite and see if we can pull him in. All right. Oh, there's Joni's on. Okay, now come over here and get back to here. And back to right there. All right. Both the dreams and myths are important communications from ourselves to ourselves. I don't know if any of you have a consistent dream, something that just shows up routinely, but I do. And I have for most of my life. And the dream keeps coming back to a person comes and asks me if I know how to do something, and I said, no, I don't, but I know somebody who does. It's the most interesting thing because it's just such an oddball moment. It's like why in the world does that happen? And yet over the years I've kind of looked like I've moved into that kind of a role where I just somewhat direct traffic, and I somewhat keep trying to nudge people to do more with their skills and their abilities. But what if there's something to this concept of how we talk to ourselves, how we grow both sides of our physical nature and the physical requirements in life, but also the spiritual and the subtle ones. And I think when I talk to a lot of people in the network, we've built quite a network over the years, and Tammy wrestles with most of you most of the time, but I get to mix usually with people that are really struggling. If you're just stuck, period, having such a tough time, either with not enough money or not enough time, then I usually try to get involved and see if we can't find a way around that. But I can usually sense that a person is way too busy. If we do not understand the language in which dreams are written, we will miss a great deal of what we ought to know and tell ourselves. It is in these hours that we are busy manipulating the outside world that we most need to adjust. And when you can somewhat sense there's an issue there, somewhat tell that you've allowed your habit pattern to get too busy for the things that matter most, then who's going to direct that traffic? Who's going to make those adjustments? Who can fix that if not you? When I posted this one up today, I love these words. I modified it this year. If you've noticed, I put, I bet you gotcha. When is it time to rejuvenate your own soul? When is it at a point where how you're feeling about what you're doing with your life is on good ground, and when is it not? And what can you do about that? And if you'll just use this occasion tonight to kind of measure, this is a gentle measurement, there's no reason to be harsh with it. You can do or you can't do what you want to do with your living. But I think the constant quest to say, I'm trying to move my life to my better world, instead of just tolerating the as-is position. My book is completely discusses the idea of moving your life from your as-is world by definition and by plan to a better one. Are you stressed out and busy? It's time to take a break from your busy schedule. Have some fun, leave your work behind. You deserve a break. Renew your mind and to rediscover the beauty of being alive. To fill the hour, that is happiness. Now, you all know I like Emerson's thinking and Emerson's quotes. I really do look forward to the day that I get to find that guy and visit with him and say, you know, I feel like I know him. I feel like I would like him. I would hope he would like me. But to discuss life and living with someone who's already been through it would be really, really a lot of fun. Because when you can sense what's really being said here, to fill the hour, that is happiness. Kathleen made the quote, and I've used this one also for years. Most people are so busy knocking themselves out trying to do everything they think they should do, they never get around to what they want to do. Now, if social media isn't a trap for this one, I'll eat somebody's hat, because it just can suck so much time out of your life. You can just get so involved with everything going on. There was, what, 200-300 million people, maybe more, got to be more than that, playing on social media versions today, between all of them, Facebook, Google Plus, and everything. And you'd have to just ask yourself, oh, good Lord, if it's busyness, if you're not getting somewhere with it, if it's not got a purpose or some design to it, and you're hooked on it just out of habit, I can't see that that's really worth the time that you're giving it. There should be something in it, something involved that you're messing with that then makes the time really worth it. I've posted up now, today is my third community, or my third collection. And I'm going to do several collections and do like I did with the communities. But the collections are different. They're really an unusual format, because what happens when you put up a new collection, it posts from that collection just exactly like your regular channel does, your regular YouTube or Google Plus account. But you launch from that collection every time. And it is automatically accounted for by everyone you have in your circles. Okay? So I want you to mentally think, and if you know how many people you follow and how many friends and followers you have, then that's wonderful. But I don't think most people know offhand, or you've not checked it in a while. But everything you have that you follow and are friends, that you've pulled into your life on your Google Plus account, will automatically go out now, every post, to that same group of people. Now, they won't let you have more than 5,000, but you ought to have at least 5,000. Take some time in this next week or two, and when you got a minute to sit down, because it does take time, go in and follow everybody that Google suggests. Okay, they constantly are throwing in front of you. You may like this person, you may know this person, whatever. Follow the ones that you really, really want to keep track of. Those are the ones that I'm deliberate with, that I really like what they publish routinely. So David Amerlin is somebody I follow. Those usually are the leaders of Google Plus. But run that tab up. Get yourselves lots of people that you're involved with. It's free. All you got to do is sign up for it. And what I'm going on is Google is looking at what you do on Google Plus already, and they're saying to you, these are people who have similar analytics. The search engine that monitors and watches what we play with on Google Plus and on Google, period, are suggesting a mixture of like-mindedness to you. They're not just suggesting just to be suggesting. They have a degree of interaction that they see that you don't now see. So pull a bunch of them in. Now, you got to groom it from there on. You got to, if they put something up that you don't like, all you got to do is go in on their account, get over their profile and double-click it, and take them out of that friend or that following category. Just, I don't, if it's really bad stuff, block them. Go in and just literally block their account. That's the smart thing to do. But after that, the next best thing is to just grow it. Just make it with the stuff that you like. And if you bother to do those two things, fill it up, get some volume, get some interaction that you're really fun having, enjoying, and then mix with it. Mix with it. Mix with it. And I'm going to try and publish now from, I've just kind of boiled down for the last 3 or 4 years the things that I really like the most. And I love giving out advice. I mean, I don't, you guys know that. I just can't resist to help nudge somebody. I met a person who's my age recently who doesn't have anything at all. Nothing. Bored to death, lonely and discouraged, and I've suggested a smartphone and come and play with us, and oh, no, I'm not going to do that. And that they live kind of a life of somewhat isolation. And I think the idea is to mix more with what's going on, because this world is pretty amazing to me. I am just absolutely fascinated to know that when I publish here now, I'm going to put each of my better ideas down under the Passionate Prescription and let it roll out as a collection and see what happens to it. Most people are so busy knocking themselves out trying to do everything they think they should do that they never get around to doing what they want to do. Is that not an important issue? So busy trying to please everybody and taking care of all our to-do lists that we never get around to what we really ought to do. There's more to life than increasing its speed. I like Gandhi's thoughts. Something inside of him went in the direction that he wanted and most needed to go. When we get too caught up in the busyness of the world, we lose connection with one another and ourselves. And that connecting tonight of yourself, connecting with your innermost voice, the place that I maintain your soul somehow knows which way you should go with your living. You're almost all of you younger than me, so as you age, this will get to be more and more and more of an issue. What have I gotten done? How are things going, and what am I going to do in this last precious period of time? Read the literature and writing of anyone older than you. They will always talk about all the really valuable stuff in life that they missed or they overlooked. God, I had a time, and I just am so proud of my dad. I had an amazing father, and Mom and Dad let Lou Jensen just roam. They let me just go. I had a little bit of a unusual spirit, and I loved to explore, and I loved to figure things out, and they just turned me loose completely. So I think back when I talked to some people about how their younger days were, I just went, oh, what a blessing. I really got a good beginning. But my dad would constantly talk about the time when he started a store, and he lost his first store. He had this sporting goods store, and it got into financial trouble, and he lost it. And that's when I was really, really little. And so then a few years later, he got a chance to start a bowling alley. And that's when I was in high school, and bowling was just really starting to take off. And AMF literally walked into my dad's life and said, we'll build a building for you here, we'll put everything in, we'll finance it all for you, all you gotta do is sign on the dotted line and let's go. And it was a $300,000 note, and Dad just panicked because of what had happened the last time. But he didn't do it, but they did do it with somebody else. Very shortly after, they found somebody else, and they put a bowling alley in. And I knew the guy that went ahead and did it, and he paid for the bowling alley, paid that $300,000 debt in 6 months. The first 6 months it was open. There's nothing else in Vernal to do. It was just absolutely the hottest thing in the world. And my dad complained and cussed whenever he'd get upset. That's the subject we'd talk about, was bowling. Because Dad loved bowling. He loved bowling too. So if you got something that is kind of a concept that keeps coming up, that it's kind of gnawing on you, that you're not getting at what you really most want to kind of do, then let's take that on tonight. Let's take that subject on and see if we can't make some kind of an investment moment, something that is the learning curve that will literally start helping you find your way. How can you measure how you're doing in the busy side of your world? There's earning a living, and then there's having a life. And to me, this is the moment when I'm a busy young dentist. I just had more patients. We hadn't had a new young dentist in town for 22 years, and the day I opened my door, I was busy. And from then on, busy, busy, busy. And then my brother came in and practiced with me, and busier still. And then my hobby showed up. And you guys know the story. My hobby just literally started taking over my life. And it was so interesting to see my life shift from earning a living to having a life. I'm proud of the fact that I made that transition. I found a way to go from here to here. And if you can somewhat sense that you've got a purpose and a direction and a reason for going, this was my fun trade show gang. We'd go out and do shows together and market the systems for Paragrave, and oh my good Lord, we had fun. We were in Sacramento this time, and I said, hey guys, I'm going to go get one of those antique antique Butch Cassidy type pictures done. And I just love it. So for you, before it's too late, before you're done, before you're too old, before you're too sick, let's see how this magnificent obsession thing is going for you. Are you on to something? Have you got something in your sights that every day is just an obsession for you? For me, now it's become my writing. It's just I've got to get these books finished, these tools that helped me so much in my middle years of my life. I want them available for my grandkids. And I want them to be in a form that they can enjoy, something that they can sit down and entertain them enough that they'll say, hey, Grandpa, that's a pretty good idea. My grandson Eli's coming home from the Fiji Islands from his mission on the 15th of November. And I haven't seen that boy now for 2 years, and so it's really, really going to be a fun time. But Eli and Wes, my older grandkids, are now in this very, very formative period of their lives to find what can they do now with their abilities and their interests. I've talked about Dwayne before, but very few in our circle, in our network, have had more fun than he has. When he carved this piece out, he carved this fireplace with Craig, and they worked really hard on it, got it all done. He put it in our best wood carving show here in the valley, and when Tammy went to see it first, and his wife, Dwayne had to work that day. He was a high-power electrician, high-power lineman. And his wife called him and says, well, you really have to come and see for yourself. And I had my cameras there, and I had the microphones there, and I got to record Dwayne's first reaction when he had this kind of judging of his work. Because up to this time, Dwayne didn't know that he could do it. He loved doing it, but he didn't have any critique other than Craig's up to that point. But to walk off with every major recognition in that show was just one of the high points in my whole life to watch him, because he just lit up like no tomorrow. And Steve Willie was the same. Steve came in, was 100% disabled veteran situation, and we went through the week-long course together, and just one thing after another. Oh my God, Lou, I can do this. Oh my gosh, I could do it. Because going into it, he didn't know that he could. And that seems to be our big issue, because so many look at what you guys all do, and they think you're talented and they're not, so therefore they couldn't do it. They don't understand how we're getting to the point where we can actually begin to get quite good at it. The interesting thing is, I'm quite sure that every person out there knows they're too damn busy. But we've got an excuse for how we live. We've got our favorite crutch that gets us past this measurement of ourselves, of saying, how am I doing? Am I just spinning my wheels every week, every year? How honestly am I doing? It would take a lot to look at the last 720 hours. Look at your last month and weigh it against what did you do with the majority of this time because of these two issues. You don't have enough money, you don't have enough time, so therefore I have to work. I've got to work to pay the bills. How many hours did you invest in play out of that 720? And when you take these little moments of measurement to try and assess how you're doing, you have to kind of, I know it's realistic to say that we all face the same issues. But this excuse thing is what allows it to go on. It continues when we realize life is so damn short. But all we do is work and die. Don't you hear, I know you hear as often as I do, Somebody that worked their whole life long, retired, and they died 2 weeks later. I show that picture of Tom's work, the wolves that he painted, and he always wanted to go to Lake Tahoe and paint and live, and he finally did it, and he did 3 paintings and died. That's a horror story for me. I just sit and think, oh, don't let that happen. What else is there that you want to do with your life and your living? Is there something, is there a dream that keeps coming up for you? Does this being responsible human being thing just keep you locked in? Or maybe we haven't sorted it out yet. We just don't even know what's most important. We don't get to the part that we should. We live behind the 8 ball the entire time. Now, all of you know I've spent 40 years trying to nudge people past this one, to get a person to a point where they've mastered something and they've learned how to share that something unique with the world. Then what more can you do than play with that? Look for better and better ways to share it is what I think you should be doing. And if you can somewhat get past this ball telling you how to live your life and make your decisions, won't you find something that you could really be committed to doing and doing and doing and just keep right on doing? That's the goal. Not to have it be this accidental pilgrimage thing. It's done by pattern. It's done by design. It's something you target and something you go after. I have a few people that I counsel financially, and it's always interesting to me to watch them make their choices, because it's like the major decisions that should be made about spending, especially in debt. They have to make the decision again and again and again, and that's just a horrible way to live. If you make the major choices and say, you know what, this is how my life's going to go from here on out, come hell or high water, then you start to appear almost crazy. I got such fun reaction in my high school reunion. This last one was really fun, and I'm still stepping out in such an unusual direction, and all of them know it. All of them are very aware of it, that Lou didn't take his life the way a lot of my classmates did. And all I did was get to a certain point and make the decision that I'm not going to be a dentist anymore. I'm going to make this other direction work. Now my other collection is Google Plus Crazies, and I'm having so much fun with these collection things. I really want to encourage you to figure out something that you could do and get a collection started, because Google will make sure that I see it. Google knows our connection. Google knows that we mix with each other. And if you can measure, I talked about it last week, how you can go to bed every night. If you're going to sleep with what's on your mind that you're excited about and you're happy about, then going to sleep is really a good experience. But I'm convinced that your soul keeps going. I don't think the inside part of you, the most centered part of you, doesn't shut down. And that's where the magic wand really lies, because it will take you from your most centered place in the direction you ought to go. Now, as I have explained, you guys all know, but this is for the benefit of anybody that's watching out on YouTube or Google Plus that maybe doesn't know me. My feeling about the next life and that there's more to this life going on is extremely high. Ever since I lost my daughter, my attitude about what's going on in this world really has changed dramatically, and that everything happens for a reason. And when you shift into this soulful, most centered place to ask eternity for directions, what next should I most do, you will get these signals. You will get this, like going towards your problems is like a lighthouse. That's the way I should go, is not to avoid your problems. Go right at them. Go right at the problems, and that is the pathway that you're probably next supposed to go. So what lies within? The three things you most love doing, thinking, dreaming about when nothing else is on your plate. What are those things? If you could take a whole month off and just do what you wanted to do, what would you do? And that should get really close to where you've begun to discover. I would take time and go take some lessons or study with somebody else. There's 2 or 3 writers that are really doing well now, and if I could get access to them for a weekend or a course or a week course, oh my God, I would love that. But that needs to be something that then begins to be a part of your end of your life game plan. Why just spin wheels? Why go at it as a drop in the water that hits here and then it ricochets out and ripples out and we never ever even get to what we really want to get to? When I first put this into my show series and I came up with the idea, I just crossed paths with the Phoenix Definition in Park City. There was one of those shops that sells soulful stuff and incense and books and music and tapes and things, and I'd found one of those big bowls that you can rub with the baton and they make such that unbelievable sound. And I was so enthralled with all of that, and I bumped into the concept of Phoenix, and I'd heard it over the years, but I kind of ignored it. And then all of a sudden it just absolutely clicked that the return of the Phoenix is such an amazing story. The idea that out of the wreckage of your old life, out of the ashes, now is born something new. And so regardless of the struggles that your life has had, regardless of what has been your old self, you are in the process of resurrecting, as was I. And when you can sense that in images and concepts and sounds, and that begins to be something you can identify with, then all of a sudden every image of the resurrection of the Phoenix, the coming out of the ashes, the coming out of the fire, the resurrecting of from old to new, was something that has been really, really satisfying to me. Very, very uplifting to give yourself a chance to have another life. So find something like that. Maybe for you it'll be the Phoenix as well, but for all of us there's something that is yet for you to do. We can sit here tonight, and I've been sick for a week and a half now, and I just, boy, when you get a cold that's been this vicious, it just knocked me flat. I can't get up and even go do anything. And to have been that sick, you just start counting and wonder how many more days I've got. Wonder how much more life I really have. Because somebody as old as me now, you'd never quite know. But how many days do you have left? Because you don't know either. And are you going to get to the thing you've probably been going to do or should have done or put together in place your entire life long? Is there something more that you can play with that would literally begin to help you feel like you've revived your old self into your new self? I was going to draw that, and I haven't drawn that yet, but I like, look at those scales right there. That'd be fun to carve, wouldn't it? A lot of tattoo art out in this about this subject. I posted this today too because it's my feeling that most people get locked into a paycheck so harshly that they can't ever even see an opportunity. Even if it was a rattlesnake, they'd miss it. Because you have to put yourself and your vision and your inclination looking for the opportunity. So my suggestion is spend a little more time looking more inward, not so much outward. What's still unexpressed in yourself? What is the best part of you? Try and find that and try and enhance that and do something with it. I've been sandblasting stuff with our equipment for, what, 30 years now, upwards of 30 years. And when I can see something done that's really elegantly done, Jack just got a list from the largest auction house in the world that sells just crystal. And he called me, Slew. He says, there's 100 pieces of crystal on this list that they're going to sell at auction now that have come up from all over the world. And he wants to go to the collection and bid. He says, but there's not one engraved piece of glass. Not one. Not one. Everything that Jacob owns has got $12 million worth of handmade, hand-etched, hand-engraved crystal in his life. And he's meeting Friday with the president of the university. It's just moving along pretty nicely. It looks like we're going to find a home for this collection after all. So it will be highly visible at some point. And I sit and look at what I can do now to take this pattern. This is one I use for a bottle of wine. Can you see how I put the label on? And then I put what they want to say here. And I usually, this is always done for some wealthy person, and I do a dozen bottles as a vintage. So it's like they own their own winery. And oh, do they suck that up. They like that. Jacob David Solomon Winery. Oh, that, and he gives them away like crazy because he wants people to go home with a bottle of his wine. And I bang them out for him. But I can make this pattern now. I can wash this pattern in 3 minutes because the master's done. Then I'll put this on first, and then I've got to label it. So it's actually 2 separate blasts to do it efficiently. But oh my gosh, is it quick. I can bang them out so fast because this is so simple to etch through. Where the clear is where it hits and cuts, and where it's purple, it's the resist and will bounce the shot off of it. You start playing with, I've done work for the Sandia National Lab. This is the National Atomic Energy Lab in Idaho, and now the Bingham Laboratory, Energy Development Laboratory in Vernal. All 3 of those laboratories are tied together. So when I did work for one, then that led to the next one, which led to the next one. And in every case, this was a fundraising effort. They still like to raise money for projects that they're trying to accomplish, and I do their thank you gifts, the things that go out from the laboratory as a thank you. And I've played here and played here and played here till it's my time of the year. Thanks, between now and Thanksgiving is that thank you season. And I always like to remind people, thank someone this year who really needs a thank you from you. Someone you've not bothered to thank them for how much they've done for you all these years. Someone close to you. Pick out something and do a really beautiful hand-engraved or hand-sandblasted piece that will outlast your lifetime. Okay? It's a good season to do that. Encourage all of you who are not masters. Several masters are on the program tonight with us, and some of you are not quite there yet, but I wish you would take that as a super challenge to realize that moving up to the point where I can recognize you as a master in the INE circle, I'm hopeful that the INE will go on and become something. It's been modest in its entire time. I realize that, but as a subject and as a concept for encouragement and inspiration, I just don't see anything in the marketplace any better. When you can take your own efforts and then develop them to the point that you really do have something worthwhile to share, and you start focusing on the sharing of what you've learned, then all of a sudden this doing it together thing really drops into place. Gary Price designed the hands and the artwork for the Synergy piece that's our logo. And the concept has evolved now for a long, long time, but the mixing of each of us who have decided that's a pretty good thing. That's a good way to share. Eventually, this packaging of what you most prefer doing, you will learn to do it better and better. And as you do, then you have something very, very interesting to share because it's what you've accomplished. And all it is meant to be is something that is an inspiration and an encouragement to another human being, that they also find what you then found. Okay, troops, great to have you sit in and participate with me. Let's get this all rearranged and let's visit. Anybody got a comment they want to make about tonight's subject? Important discussion. That which lights the fire within. Is that what goes on in your doing, Debbie? Is that what keeps you going?
Yeah, it does. I don't
Does
know
it
what
give
else.
back?
I don't know what else I'd do if I wasn't painting or engraving or doing calligraphy.
Yeah, it's just the most interesting thing when you find that. It just, the more you put into it, the more it gives back. It's impossible to have a debit in that category because it's the most fulfilling thing I've ever bumped to in my whole life. And I enjoyed playing with it so very, very much. Can you sense there's more coming, Deb?
Oh, yeah, this year especially. Rolling around thoughts on how to get back to teaching, figuring out how I want to do that.
I want to do that. Well, it's sure growing. This window right here, this mechanism right here of being able to teach, because in this next year I'm going to try and figure out if I can pull my week-long course over and do it with this mechanism. Can you imagine the advantage? Way less cost for everybody, way less hassles, and take somebody through a week of getting their studio started and literally help them get going. And I think, oh God, what a powerful tool. And if I could just iron out all the last little bit of bugs, even today when I fired up the show today, they've changed some of the formatting. And Google, that's all they do is sit around and figure out what can we change to drive Luke crazier. I think that's how that actually works. How you deal with the changes, Ron?
Well, it's just things that you have to do. Like I spent the last 2 months giving work away that
Yeah,
because
I do.
I couldn't do it. I had just a week ago I had a phone call from Kentucky. Um, I made the phone call, got in touch with the person, and I couldn't do the, not that I wasn't qualified to do the job, just physically I can't do it. So I kind of set up the groundwork and got in touch with somebody that I know could do it, and she got the job.
Passed it on.
500, 5 hours at $100 an hour plus her expenses. So
Wow.
it's I gave away probably $1,000 worth of work in the last month.
Well, when you're at a point where you can't do that physically, but you can pass it on, that's kind of a good feeling.
It is because it makes you feel good that first of all I'm getting the phone calls, uh,
Still following you.
still following me, and second of all, I feel good that that person I know can do the job, and the person that I contacted, that I feel good that I sent the right person, and that it all got handled in the right way, and then I just go on do what I'm doing on what I'm doing, and moving ahead that way.
Yeah. It all seems to me, if everything does happen in life for a reason, and I know that's such a debatable question. I argued that my whole life. I just going, that doesn't sound reasonable to me. I just couldn't swallow that everything happens for a reason. It's just too much personal choice and decision and freedom to choose well or to choose poorly is our free agency, and I quite like that. But to have things happen in your life that tend to direct the traffic, since Tara passed away, I've had so many occasions where something has shown up that she's still very much out there. There was a post on Google Plus this week about the scientific world is beginning to really pay attention to the fact that maybe there is another life, that it's not just this religiosity category that crazy people believe in faith, and the rest of us people who are scientific mentally thinking we don't. And I'm going, you need to kind of rethink that a little, because to me the thoughts and feelings and ideas that come to us from creativity, I've talked about it a lot over the years, I think that comes to you, and it comes to you from somewhere to help guide you. I just have such a tough time without having just a random future. Randomness now is all that we've got to live on, and I think, oh no, that can't be right. There's got to be some purpose to that last which we're doing that ends up being quite a worthy work. And so everything that's happened in your life so far has led you to now, and now is something that you have more to contribute, more to put into place, more that will help wherever this future is going. And then when we pass through that veil, whatever is next now will be very apparent. Jocelyn died. She's only been gone 4 months now. And you cannot believe the changes in Chris and I's life since Sis passed away. Never dreamed that she would check out so fast and so easy. She just went to sleep, and next day she's wherever else, somewhere else. And all that does, when that happens to you, all that does is move this issue for yourself a little higher on the totem pole. We're going, every one of us got only so much time left, and I would love to do something good, something really like the crowning effort with that last precious period of time. And I think that's the point of the show tonight, is if you know what you got and you're happy and content with it, then hey, just roll on out. But if there's a part of you in there that's still trying to find what that last precious effort really ought to most represent, take these slides tonight, make a mental image of whatever you have that's rising from the ashes, and have you realize the value of your personal experience. If you can package that somehow and pass that on to someone else who's also wrestling with their life, there's nobody out there, nobody on this planet that's not struggling with something. And the I&E Network has a chance to mix there somehow, and hopefully that's what we'll be able to accomplish, is our mixing will be worthwhile. So, anybody else got a comment? Mel, you've always got some wisdom boxed up in there somewhere.
Well, you reach the point that you can't do is when you need to teach.
Okay.
Because you've spent a lifetime gathering knowledge. And it'd be a shame to have that knowledge
just go away.
Nowhere.
Yeah, it really would, wouldn't it?
Mel,
It's
you
like
gotta go.
Every you sit down with a beginner, and it almost makes me almost hurt inside that I realize how much more they yet have to learn. They don't know anything. They're just barely starting, and first time they picked up the drill in their whole lives, and they get a little excited, and I think, oh, should I tell them how much they really
you don't tell them how much they really need to go forward with.
Well,
you tell them how good they're doing.
Yeah, they could reason it out anyway. But I like the sharing of that time. You guys know me well. I've played with this for so many years, and I love having, especially when they tell me they can't do it. They'll look at a carving or something we've done, an engraving, piece of glass or piece of wood, and they'll say, "Oh, I don't think I can ever do that. I sure like it." And then they just, the second they begin to realize that, oh my hell, I can do this.
Well, you need to ask them about how would you go about creating this piece? And that'll get them started thinking what steps they need to take to
Yeah,
get to the finish.
yeah, yeah. And the more you do it, the better you get at lighting that fire.
Oh yeah, I've had a lifetime of it.
We're going to have a chance now. This veterans program, the lady's been at the National Veterans Conference in LA this last week, and so she's home now, and we're going to get a chance to do a demo for 3 disabled veterans coming up. And so I'll let you know how that goes when we get that opportunity, because we all know what's going to happen. I mean, I've been trying to find a way to crack the dike that seems to surround the VA that just will not let us get close unless an individual picks it up and wants to go do it. We've had such a tough time connecting in the years that we've been playing with this, but it feels like now maybe this is the last great effort. Kids who are just so close to being done can't find a way to manage, can't find a way to go forward, and I'm thinking, oh man, if we could just get them something to do and then involve them with us, gradually we could maybe solve some of the problems and keep them from checking out. So we'll see how that goes. How's your day been today, Tim-Marie? There you go.
Okay. I'm sorry. Well, like you, I'm sick, and so it's been a little slow for me today. It was really busy yesterday.
So any wonderful stories in the network that you're aware of that we don't know about yet?
I do.
Her computer's
What did
maxed
you
up.
say, Lou?
Did you have anything fun you can share with us in the network? You're the point person for everybody.
Yes, I had a fun call this afternoon late, just before the webinar, actually. That this guy got black walnut trees around him, but he doesn't want to have to climb trees for the rest of his life, so he wants to take the trees and carve them. And I went, oh, I have the perfect equipment for you. And he's sending me some black walnut too.
Oh, too bad. Some homegrown black walnut.
Yes, sir. I'm so excited. I'm going to make jewelry out of it.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. It's time for me to get back into some carving.
Do some Nicholas Polachuk kind of carving.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else got a comment? Jay, how you doing? Do you want to finish up tonight? Your story is good as it comes.
Oh yeah, I've been great. You know, staying busy, trying to get a couple of orders done that I'm working on. I'm fixing to do our university here has it's like a new performing arts center they built about 2 years ago, and I'm fixing to do a glass engraving of basically the front of the building, showing the building. It's going to be roughly a 20 by 30 inch glass engraving of it. So
good. Oh, that'll be great. That will be good. I've done several of those over the years where I've got a chance to do like an architectural drawing and render it over on glass. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, I'm taking a professional photograph of it and copying that photograph over and using that onto the glass. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that'll be excellent. All right. Well, get us some pictures and keep us in touch.
You bet.
All right, gang. my throat's about shot. I'm going to call it a night and get some more rest. Thank you for participating. Appreciate you stopping by. We'll fire this up. We'll see.